Hello, my name is Lamerck, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. For our first-time watchers, the Naval Sports League, or NSL, is the ultimate naval competition in the game of holdfast nations at war. League battles are simple. Two teams, each led by a single admiral, pilot 5 large capital ships and 2 small support boats, with the goal of sinking as many capital ships as they can within 35 minutes. Whoever sinks the most wins, and if there's a tie, we decide the winner by overall score. Teams consist of anywhere between 20 to 40 players, and the league provides mercenaries to balance out any number disparities between the teams. Every player in the league, be they a team player or mercenary, is competing hard for end of season awards and accolades. Every battle will take place on a randomly chosen map with randomly chosen wind direction. Both of these factors mean that no two battles will ever be the same. The league has lasted for 9 months, and as we are here in December, we are finished with the main season and we have moved on to the semifinals and finals. The semifinals match that you are about to watch today is of the lower bracket. That is the teams that are in fourth, fifth, and sixth place. This is the fifth and the sixth team who are going to be battling to see who's going to challenge the fourth place team. The NSL is a collection of Holdfast's most talented admirals, officers, and crews, and the tactical gameplay you'll see here is at a higher level than anything else this game has to offer. We hosts and co-hosts will be here for the entire battle to help you understand the decisions and strategies you'll see play out in the NSL Coliseum. So, without further ado, let's get to the pregame coverage. I am joined by Mr. Dr. Professor Esquire. What else?
Ooh, full title. I
I
don't
don't know.
even
I don't.
remember
I don't.
anymore.
I don't remember all your titles. Anyway, a longtime director behind the scenes here in the NSL who has joined me today to give the coverage that this game deserves. So let's get right into it, Prof. We will start with the league standings. Now, these league standings, they're not going to change. They have become set in stone as per the last
Correct.
game. And so here we are. We see the Leviathans, first place, Krakens, SCP-38. Royal Black Fleet, Jackals, Marines. The Jackals and the Marines are who you're going to be seeing battling in just a few minutes, and they're going to determine in this semifinal match who is going to go on to play the Royal Black Fleet in the finals of this lower half of the bracket. All right, so let's head over to the side by side. Prof, do you want to take the side by side for us?
I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me, by the way. All right,
Yes.
so side by side, the two teams we're looking at today, the Jackals versus the Marines, fighting for their opportunity to challenge the lower bracket in the semifinals. Uh, Look, starting off on the Jackals here, we got Zarni, he's the long-standing admiral, a 3-7 season record coming in at the conclusion here. And I just wanted to point out the all-time matchup between these two teams, 1-1. So there is no clear-cut victor one way or the other between the Jackals and the Marines. We don't really know what's going to fall. Uh, we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on Ranger, Fallison, and Grezio. I believe I'm saying his name right, as the top players on the Jackal side. But our biggest contender is going to be Boskergerald. Forgive me for saying that.
That was a really good try. I think you
I
got it.
did I get it close? Okay, we're going to assume I get it close. On the flip side, we have the Marines, my personal favorite. If I'm going to throw in a little spice here,
Oh,
Kyrans is going to be admiral for today. Their season record is 1-9, not a complete shutout, but I think they're going to show up today. No, sure. Like I said, 1-1 matchup between these two, which is why I have so much hope for my Marines here. Uh, Big three guys we're going to want to keep an eye on is Bjornsson, Dumbbell, and Count Chocula. Love the name, by the way. And I'm correct me if I'm wrong here. These are some new names to keep an eye on.
some of them are.
Yeah,
Some
I
of them are.
believe so. However, Vex down at our one to watch has topped these charts more than once for the Marines, so that's not too much of a surprise to bring him back.
Yeah. So, with that, let's take a look at the tournament bracket.
Yes.
You can see here kind of what we've already talked about, that this is the Jackals and Marines playing today in the semifinals, and the winner of this match is going to go on to the lower bracket finals and fight the Royals. So, this is a big deal. They get to determine amongst themselves, who leads this lower half of the bracket, and there are prizes involved for whoever wins the tournament bracket here, even on the lower half. All right. So with that, let's head over to the map preview. Talk a little bit about the map and what it suggests as for the battle today. We have
Yes,
the
yes.
Jackals, who are going to be on the British team, the Marines, who are going to be on the French team. The wind is going south in this island map here. This
Yes.
map has been a very interesting arena for a few of the battles this season, and it's going to be both of the battles you see today are going to be on this map with the wind just going south for the first one, and going north for the second one. Of course, if I have not said so already, it's important to say now. This is an early stream. You may notice we're starting an hour early. It's because we are going to be having both of the semifinals matches today. So not only are we going to be watching this lower bracket semifinals, but then at the normal 3 o'clock Eastern time, about 3:15, we're going to be showing the upper brackets semifinals. So make sure you stick around. There will be a break between them, but stick around. But today, for this first battle, we have the Jackals and the Marines on this map. Um, this is a map where the Marines have done some really interesting things, and the Jackals have done some really interesting things. This battle that they had between, I believe, the two of them in this arena was one of the most interesting battles of the season. And
Sure.
so, you know, I guess, Prof, I know you haven't had a lot of time to, kind of get out here and talk strategy with all of us, but I would love to hear from you what you think this map is going to do for these teams. Like, where do you think this battle is going to happen?
So while I'm looking at the map here, I now granted I'm not as experienced as yourself and a lot of the other admirals that come on the show, but I feel like the Jackals and the Marines really speak to my heart in terms of their strategies, where they're very overtly aggressive,
Yeah,
and I can see them. I don't want to say going right down the middle. In my mind, that major gap in the northern section middle is where I think we'll see some early fighting, so they can bank some wind, but they're going to get into a scuffle as quickly as possible. I don't see either team backing down from their favorite charge in method,
yeah,
so to speak,
the
just because this
aggressive
is the end.
strategy. Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
I hope not. Obviously, the the motivation to play it safe and to play it like on that more professional, sort of cautious level can infect a team when there's more on the line. And so, of
Yeah.
course, as fans of the NSL, I am hoping, and I'm sure you are too, that like you said, that they get in there and they just really get into a dust up somewhere in that center. What
Very.
we noticed in the last time is that going through these narrow channels, like you're talking about the bigger gap in the north, but there are
Yes.
one, two, three, four, five, five gaps between the islands, not to mention going around the upper part of the island or the lower part of the like upper part of the upper island and the lower part of the lowest island. Um, those gaps are real danger zones, but they also allow the teams to cross quickly. So you have to balance if you're either of those teams going the long way around the upper and lower part of the islands or trying to sneak through a gap and hoping you won't get caught. Now, the wind direction going directly south means that both of these teams will have what we call neutral wind at the outset. It means they'll relatively go like 50 to 60% of their max speed, and nobody's going to have some kind of speed advantage or disadvantage. Um, Usually, you think as an admiral that you want to go against the wind, which would mean that either of these teams would start by going in a northerly direction, and then like try to bank that wind. It's not as important of a strategy, however, on an island where the map is kind of just cut right in half. Going against the wind is good when then you can use that wind at the halfway point of the match to like swing and attack fast at your opponents. But in this particular map, because these channels are kind of the only way to get through, banging the wind early on, what it really does is it slows you down in the beginning and it allows your enemy to use a better wind to slip into your half of the map and attack you there. So I think you're right, Prof. I think he who gets most aggressive most quickly may come out on top here. And it's like a total coin toss between these two teams who's going to do that.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's the nature of the islands forms just this perfect barrier where visibility is going to be reduced for both sides, and it also kind of minimizes the consequences of any, let's say, missteps in navigation early on in the match,
Yeah.
because there's just so much land that you can maneuver behind to reposition and get back into play, that banking that wind doesn't really necessarily save you or hurt you in this case. It's just so much easier to just reposition behind an island, get yourself back together, and just get right back into it without any major faux pas. So to speak.
Yeah. And I really want to focus on what you said about the like vision aspect, the line of sight and your ability to see what the enemy is doing. We've seen
Mhm.
on this map between these teams the concept of a team hiding gunboats in or around the
Yes.
exits of these channels, going in and causing maximum chaos to the other team. I would
They do love
love to
that.
see would love to see some of that today, and I hope that these two teams are going to be coming in with all the tricks that they can bring at their disposal. I want to say for our viewers that today I'm on the overhead camera. Today I'm going to be zooming around the battlefield, and Prof is going to take the overhead camera for me, which I appreciate very much because I like to
Nope.
get in there and I
Oh,
never get the chance to do so. So we will very shortly have a look at the Coliseum Stadium itself and get you guys a nice look at what we're going to be seeing here today. But I hope that this battle, like I said, I hope it's going to be a real like just a ton of aggressions,
oh,
a lot of these guys are going to want to prove that they've really earned their way into their brackets finals, rather than something more along the lines of eking out a win and then just like inching their way towards the finals. But we
I,
will
I don't
see.
I don't see either one of these teams disappointing on. I don't want to insinuate that the base level skill sets and cannoneering isn't there, but they both just have that natural tendency towards aggression that I don't think they could shake even if they wanted to.
And based on the results this season, it's clear that the Jackals have kind of begun to master that play style. They
For
have
sure.
mixed results. There's no question about it. They have mixed results. And teams that have extraordinary cannon discipline do tend to absorb their aggression and then still come out on top. But
Yes.
but I think in the lower bracket, where the teams are a little bit more well-rounded rather than just like hyper focused on cannoneering, the Jackals shine down here. And so I would really like to see, you know, what if they can bring that aggression, and if that aggression leads them to being able to just like shut down the enemy team. That's what we're really looking for here today. So I'm excited. I cannot wait. This battle cannot get started fast enough. We've got about 50 seconds before all sail. So we have not done what we usually do here, but let's do it now, Profil. We've got a few minutes.
Please.
uh, we like to wrap each team and talk about why we think they're going to win. So you like the Marines, so I'm going to let you. Why are the Marines going to win today?
See, Merc, I can't help but invest my heart into the underdog story. And the Marines, I feel like they're kind of the younglings of this league, where they're fresh this season, technically didn't exist in the preseason, and they've just refused to give up. Every match they give it their all. And you were speaking about how the Jackals are kind of the kings of the aggression, and I kind of agree that the Jackals do have that edge in this match, but the Marines don't shirk away from it. It's just a matter of if they can spring that aggression earlier. I feel like that's the one thing the Marines always lack, and they've been getting closer and closer each match with timing out their reckless charge, so to speak. And I'm hoping we see it today, where they just throw caution to the wind.
Okay, all right. We do seem to be having some issues, some rules violations here on the Marines. They do believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're
Already,
taking out extra gunboats. Which, if you're unfamiliar with the, yeah, I saw. They have 3 gunboats coming out from spawn right now.
oh yeah, you
Uh,
can just see it.
Yep. So we're gonna have to. There you go. They've cut the sails on one of their gunboats.
Come on,
They
Marines!
must.
I just talked you up. Don't do this
Marines,
to me.
come on. Oh, they're still doing it. They've got 4. I think they've got 4. Okay. So
That
let's take a look. We've got first RM guys on some
you
gunboats.
know
We do have 3 gunboats right now. So
you know what what's
they have they
the
have 2
U.S.
gunboats that are just deployed. There's nobody on them.
Huh?
So we're gonna have to have somebody go in there and take it back. Not a promising start for what is to be an extraordinarily important match for the Marines. I'd hate to have them have some trouble. If they can just get a guy on those ships and just pull them back into their spawn, I think that would be enough for all of us. But there are 2 Marines gunboats that are absolutely just sailing out with nobody on them. Somebody just set them free in the beginning of this game, and nobody. There we go. We got somebody getting on them.
Yeah,
We've
there it
got
is.
somebody. Oh, he's trying to swim over the other one. That's not going to work, buddy. You're going to have to
Oh,
respawn. All right. Well, we're going to ignore that little bit of drama and get right to where the fleets are going. And the answer to that is north. So they have decided that they're going to bank the wind early. And
yep.
yeah, we are going to see if that is going to work for one team or the other. But of course, it is very important that we talk about when they're going to get there and which one of these gaps they are going to kind of fight through or try to sneak through. That is the number one thing here. Uh, where are where's this battle going to happen? I mean, is it going to happen in the gap above the island, or is it going to happen in a gap between islands? But that's going to give us a minute or two to think about how this is going to go down and see the formations that they bring into it.
Yeah,
This is
give
a
them a chance to
semifinals
see each
match,
other.
right? So the only thing that matters here is winning. Um, how they win, how much they win by, the points don't matter at all, except unless we end with some kind of tie here. But we're not adding points to the leaderboard. The leaderboard is locked from the main season. This is just to see who wins the marbles. Um,
Yeah,
right now, what I'm seeing is that the Marines have a little bit more of an organized line, but the Jackals have plenty of time. Jackals in the yellow ships, by the way, guys. Marines in the green ships. The Jackals have plenty of time to get that orderly fleet formation. Now, what I can see from the Jackals that I really like is that they are trying to offset their 13 gun. This is something the Marines
hmm
have suffered from time and time and time again. Having a 13 gun like in the same line as the rest of the 8 guns means that it can get hit just as easily by the enemy fleet as any 8 gun, and the enemies, their opponents, tend to do a really good job at focusing down that 13 gun, beating it to hell, and then unfortunately sinking that 13 gun, and that
yeah.
being that.
They are notorious for sacrificing that big boy pretty early in most matches. Um,
And it doesn't really do them much. It's why they're.
no,
I would say, at this point, having seen them throughout the season, it is probably the number one reason why they keep losing battles, is
agreed.
is letting that 13 gun get sunk real fast and real early. But we'll see. All right. Well, I'll say this to the Marines' credit: they have gotten their gunboats back into spawn, and we thank them for jumping on top of that and helping out keeping this game fair.
hmm And they do have their legal, air quotes, gunboats into a pretty good position.
Yeah, they're doing a
I-
great job getting those guys into prime um, ambush position. And so
Absolutely.
as we see these guys approach, it does look like both of the teams are thinking of going through that giant gap all the way up in the north.
Yeah, they are.
And it's looking like a nice place to do battle. Listen, it's a perfectly good place to do battle. Get your fleet to man that gap, fire across it, maybe have a ship swing around and try and cut around behind through some of the southernmost, the slightly south of that big gap, the slightly south channels. So maybe there
True,
could
true.
be a bit of a drama on both ends. Um, what we're seeing now is that the Marines do seem to be turning away from that
Yeah, they're first
northmost
cutting in,
gap.
aren't they?
So what they may be trying to do is get through the larger gap to the south, that not south south of course, but south of that northmost gap, and cut behind the Jackals, which would be incredible, really
Yeah, meanwhile,
incredible.
the Jackals are actually turning full north straight away into the wind here.
I think they're just setting up a battle line, basically. I think they're
They
telling
might be.
the Marines, come on in. Wherever you want to come, we'll just turn our cannons towards you. And you're going to come in with your 13 gun, as you always do, and we're going to destroy it. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, what was it? I believe the last match the Marines played in, they just used their 13 as a straight up battling
Yes.
ram.
It was
There was
shockingly successful, honestly. I mean, they
it,
didn't
it
win,
did work.
but it collided with multiple ships,
Oh
and
yes.
the enemy's 13 gun. I think it actually like rammed it,
Oh yeah, it
but
did.
certainly some 8 guns.
It the
Right?
only problem was, as exciting as it was to watch, it did not survive that encounter for
Oh, it
very
didn't
long.
work at all. Yeah.
So
So let's really zone in here on what the Marines are trying to do. That those Marines are trying to cut around behind the Jackals. Now, the reason that this is
yeah,
going to be very hard for them is because they are going to have the wind as they go north. But when they want to turn south to cut around behind the Jackals, they're not going to have the wind anymore. So
yeah.
we're going to have to see how this goes. What they have going for them right now is that the Jackals line is now in a state of not really any kind of order. They're turning their fleet in a way where now their 13 gun is quite vulnerable. So if I were the Marines, I would just pull up, go through this channel, pull my fleet up, and just slam that Jackal's 13 gun until it is sunk. And I think they can do it. I really do. This is going to be
They're
an
perfectly in
interesting
line.
way. Yeah, they're doing a good. They have a good line right now. You know, the team that has the most well formed line is the one that's going to be able to bring the most of its resources to bear. Resources being cannons
Yeah.
to bear against the other team. That's the Marines right now. Now the Jackals have a superpower, and that is to recover from catastrophe with surprising like a sort of like I think of them like an octopus. It's got tentacles all over the place. The tentacles are not communicating with the octopus's core. They're just doing their own things, and yet it all creates this really great and organized reaction. And that it tends to be how the Jackals respond to adversity here. And so what you can see is that the Jackals are going to send their ships to the south-southwest and try and cut in front maybe of a Jackals line, or I'm sorry, of a Marine line. But the Marines have the Jackals 13 gun right now. They've got
Yeah. They completely
range
split the fleet.
and rotation. The only thing that the Jackals have right now is a great firing angle. They're also going to have a great firing angle on the Marines 13 gun, but I think the Marines are going to get the edge on this one to start off with. What the Marines need to do right now is they need to offset that 13 gun. They need to get him away from the range of the 8 guns because those 8 guns are going to swing around. Like, look at the
They're pumping.
Jackals. Look at the Jackals. They've really reformed here. It's just a question of what are the Marines going to do with their 13 gun? Are they going to put it in a position where it I mean, the Marines are. I'm gonna say Marines are in a much better position here.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
And with the wind at their back, it wouldn't be very hard for them if once that 13 takes too much damage, they can peel that 13 out with very minimal effort.
yes, yes. Not to mention they can continue to move forward and cut. And the Jackal's 13 gun is sailing in the opposite direction
Yes.
of the Marines' fleet. So the Marines can now turn around and they can just pass this island and they will be able to cut off the front of 4 8 guns with their entire fleet. The
Yes.
Jackals are in a very bad position because their 13 gun is MIA right now.
You'll never catch up.
Not good. It's possible, but improbable that it's going to catch up before the Marines put a serious amount of hurt on the front 8 gun of the Jackals fleet.
And
So
I don't know
what
if you
we've
can
seen
see,
here,
but those Marine gunboats are now getting free shots on the 13 completely unmolested.
yes. As by the way, just to give the Jackals their due, they have 2 rocket boats at the
They
back
do.
of the Marines fleet and are harassing very strongly the rear 8 gun. Problem is, rocket boats don't do a lot of damage. They cause a lot of chaos. It's
Yes.
not going to stop the Marines from having an organized shooting gallery of 8 guns. So
And you know,
what we're going to see now is just the fire that's going to come from between the front of the Marines and this disorganized 8-gun Jackal line. And it's going to be pretty brutal. It's going to be pretty brutal.
the Marines did the biggest upset they could have pulled here when everybody, myself included, is expecting their traditional bull rush into danger. They formed a nice, coherent, standard line and executed it flawlessly against an enemy that was not at all ready for it.
Yeah. And you can really see it because the Jackals have just abrogated their duty of their 13 gun, which is to
Yep.
be amongst its 8 guns, providing support. Now, the Marines just have to keep their 13 gun nice and safe. The problem here is if the Jackals reform the line and get a concentrated amount of fire on that 13 gun. But right now, it even doesn't kind of matter. Like, because they're going to do, the Marines are going to do so much damage to the Jackals lines right here. Going to put so much hurt into these 8 guns. The question
Focus
is,
fire
yeah,
is phenomenal.
can the 8 guns put the hurt back into the 13 gun? Like, this 13 gun should be nowhere near these 8 guns. It is, I have to say, even though the Marines are doing an amazing job here, it is preposterous that this 13 gun is so close to these 8 guns. It shouldn't be anywhere near it. It should be set back and firing at a range that the 8 guns cannot return. That would make this maneuver go from really, really great to absolutely flawless. Unfortunately, that's just not in the Marines' playbook. They just don't seem to be able to do it. They get too excited. They get that 13 gun in like just really way too close range. We've seen it throughout the season. They love to have that 13 gun up in the mix, but it is unfortunately the cause of so much woe for them. And I hope this does not bite them in the butt, because if they cannot take out a good 2 8 guns right in this, then they are going to, what's going to happen is their 13 gun is going to take so much damage in this fight that when the Jackal's 13 gun comes in, their 13 gun is going to be more beaten up than it, and it's going to still get taken out. And what a sad thing that would be for the Marines. It's such a strong opening to end up losing them, to lose that 13 gun because it's taking sustained fire from all the 8 guns. I'm not seeing from the Marines the focus fire on any individual ship that's going to create the advantage they need. And God, I think the Jackals are actually going to be able to come in here with that 13 gun, having only lost a single 8 gun, and that's still a possible victorious position. Because, yeah, unfortunately, Prof, the Marines 13 gun is getting close to half health here.
Yeah, it is.
That's very
And
scary.
and they still haven't finished off that first 8 gun that they focused down.
Yeah.
And just to make it a little bit worse, it looks like those Jackals rocket boats are starting to induce a little bit of panic. We already have the one 8 gun
Killed off.
peeling off on its own. Now the second one is taking fire from the other rocket boat. It may not be doing significant damage, but it might be inducing some panic.
Yeah, this is it's crazy because right now there's no question the Marines are winning this battle, right? There's no
Sure.
question about it.
There goes the
But
first 8 gun.
as an admiral, I am always looking at what comes in the next 3 to 5 minutes. And in the next 3 to 5 minutes, the Jackals actually have a better position. They have a better position. They really do.
That
with
Jackals
13 gun.
13 is now perfectly positioned
He's
directly
across
across
the
the tee. Yep.
Yep. And so, yeah, that's really, really great for the Marines to have taken that 8 gun out. But they continue to move forward, and what they've actually ended up doing is they've moved their fleet into range of the Jackal's 13 gun, which they did not have to do, by the way. Didn't have to do it at all. Didn't have to keep going forward. And so we're at a position where, the next few moves are going to determine which of these 13 guns is going to go down first. And even with the single destruction, I mean, listen, again, the Marines are ahead. As long as the Marines can keep their 13 gun out of danger, they are going to be able to cinch this victory for themselves. But they've got to be smart here. They've got to be smart. And the Jackals have to not realize the opportunity they have in hitting that enemy 13 gun. And so we're going to see what happens next in these next few minutes, because it is everything for these guys. It's make or break. It is make or break.
It really is going to come down to, can the Marine, they're fully committed to this circle move here, and it's, can they survive getting their 13 gun, which is barely moving now, through the crossfire of the two halves of the Jackal's fleet. And it's not taking as much concentrated fire as I would. Like I would have expected. The Jackal's 13 is focusing pretty heavy on that 8 gun.
That focus is the point here. What these 13 guns choose to do over the next few minutes is going to determine who wins and loses. If I was the Jackals, I would definitely be focusing on that Marines 13 gun because he's got his T crossed. He's got his T crossed.
He's
and yet, that's not happening right now. But, I mean, and because it's not, by the way, the Marines are just whittling down the ship HP of these 8 guns to the point where we're about to see a second Jackal's 8 gun probably go down in the next, 2 or 3, maybe more minutes, if they can get a focus fire on it. The question is now, these 13 guns are, I mean, absolutely about to tangle. The Marines 13 gun, its starboard side battery is depleted significantly. And now the Jackals are focusing fire on it. The thing about the Marines is that they have much more strength on their port side, and that port side is what they're turning in towards the Jackals fleet right now. But I do truly believe that the Jackals, now having started to pay attention to the Marines 13 gun, they're going to take it out. And if they take it out, and the Jackals continue to have a strong 13 gun that does not get focus fired by the Marines fleet, they still have a path to victory, and not just a path to victory, a fairly strong path to victory, even with just 3 ships remaining, as they will be in just a few minutes. Because the Marines, man, 13 gun, it should not go down. It's such a shame. Such a shame that it will, because that opening was so smart. And it applied so much pressure on the Jackals, and it got them out of so much when it comes to their positioning. It got their 13 gun running. It had their 8 guns isolated. But the fact that we're going to see the 13 gun on the Marines go down, unfortunate for them, because it could be the beginning of a really, really exciting turnaround in favor of the Jackals. And there it is. 13 gun on the
There
Marines
it
is
goes.
down. Now we have to see if the Jackals can really take that and run with it, or if the Marines can continue the momentum that they have with just 4 guns.
Considering the current position and spacing of their battle line, it's going to be a rough comeback. We got
Their ability to focus fire is just not going to be there because they
no.
have no cohesion amongst their fleet right now. And so if the and again, this is a Jackal's specialty, is in the mid battle things are looking grim and they get all their ships together and they focus fire on just a few ships. Their 13 gun at half HP is as good as an 8 gun. So what I'd say is we've got 2 8 guns. Like, I mean, listen, there's no question. The Jackals are in an absolutely desperate position right now. All the Marines need to do is collect their forces and apply pressure to any specific ship. They will probably be able to take it down, and then they will probably be able to just, like dominoes, knock the rest of these Jackals out. It's whether these fleets have the cohesion necessary, or if this is going to be an individual brawl between captains. And if it is, then it might be still anybody's game.
And I can't help but wonder, but maybe you have this information. I'm curious if the Marines have an eye in the sky right now that could maybe help them get their footing again. Because
It
I
would be
know from
shocking if they didn't at this point. It'd be shocking if they
right,
didn't.
and I have to hope that some their eye in the sky is screaming at them to get them back organized. Because I know from the ship level, it's got to be chaos at the moment
Yeah,
to
they're
even figure out
every
where their team is.
as is so often with battles between these teams, it is sort of every captain for themselves.
Unfortunately. And like you called in the beginning, the Jackals excel in that every man for themselves mentality. They just instinctively work so well together without even needing to.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
like
I,
that analogy of the octopus you called out, where the tentacles
mhm.
just do their own thing, whether or not the body's fine.
Right, and they're good at it, and they're really good at it. And that's how they take these moments where they've gotten like shattered in the first half, and they regroup and they pull out victories here. One of the things that they're doing really great, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Jackals have one 8 gun that is at no HP left, none.
Oh
And
yeah,
look where it is. It's parked in their spawn zone.
yeah, they got him out of
It's just
safety. I
parked.
was watching that.
Yep. So this is the kind of fleet management and capabilities that these guys have. The Marines, when things start going bad for the Marines, they go they go hard, right? They
Oh
bring
yeah,
full battle, right? They go crazy. But it's the strategic level of thinking from the Jackals that might actually pull a victory out for them. Because yeah, if you think about it, we thought that the Jackals were going to be, you know, down, but at this point, the Jackals are looking pretty good. They've saved one of the ships that was looking really bad. They've got their 13 gun tangling with 2 8 guns, but that's okay. Let's take a look at how many cannons that 13 gun has on its
can't
port
say I've
side.
seen any
And
explosions.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have a nearly full port side
Yep,
broadside to bring on those 2 8 guns. This is looking good for the Jackals.
and 60% health too. That 13 is
Doing
fine
fine,
health
doing
wise.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, it's in danger. It's in danger, no question. But it's doing okay. Yeah, that's it. The Marines just have lost a gunboat or a gun to gunboats, or they're getting really highly pressured. There is a 8 gun that is basically depopulated, and it's just a captain on there, and he's got a gunboat behind him. I mean, this is, the Jackals are doing a great job at keeping the Marines from concentrating any more than these 2 ships that they have remaining. It is the Jackals are going to take this.
I it hurts me to see it, but
Well, just
it
because of how wonderful the Marines opening was and how many
absolutely
opportunities they had. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And I think they had a real plan coming into this.
yes.
But it's sometimes it's funny. Your plan kind of doesn't account for the fact that the enemies might make like a mistake, and it's kind of hard to like think, oh, how do I capitalize on this mistake? And the way I think for the Marines to have capitalized on that mistake was to just have just kind of stayed as far away from the enemy 13 gun as they could and put as
Yeah.
much hurt in the 8 guns. Um, you know, in a perfect world, the 13 gun of the Marines would still be up right now, and this would
Yeah.
be a real even battle. And that's just not the way it turned out. And so
No,
the
not at all.
Jackals are going to come back from behind, as they so often do in battles like this, where they
It is their
really,
superpower.
really, yeah, it is. And they're so great at it. Um, we're going to watch this 13 gun and this 8 duel it out here. We're going to watch an 8 gun and a gunboat duel it out. And we're going to watch, two 8 guns that are in the distance. They're not really in the fight. I mean, listen, the Jackals are all over the place too. Don't get me wrong. But they have more ships. They have more
And more
ships.
ship health.
More ship health. Now,
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility that this Jackals 13 gun does go down. Interesting thing that happens if this Jackals 13 gun goes down. If the Marines 8 gun sinks this Jackals 13, that puts them back in contention for a victory here. And what an incredible turnaround that would be.
They do have the 2 gunboats trailing that 13, just not
It's
giving him a moment to breathe on top of the
it,
8 gun.
and that's very important because that is another half of an 8 gun. And if they're able to pop some of the cannons on the port side of that 13 gun, which I believe they may have done because you can see the 13 gun's coming in pretty strong here. And it is because they've lost a lot of. They only down to 2 cannons. They were at a full port side broadside just a minute ago, and now they're down to 2 cannons. I think this may be a turnaround point for the Marines now. Now we can start celebrating the Marines because they have really put the pressure on this 13 gun. And if they do that, and they sink this 13 gun, which they can do with a good 6 cannons just railing into this 13 gun, that would be spectacular. That would be spectacular for them.
It looks like it's going to happen. They should have plenty of
The
time.
13 gun is going to ram. And the reason that the 13 gun is going to ram is because they are out of cannons. So now they've got to stop that 8 gun. They've got to stop the 8 gun.
And this
That
is
8
the
gun's got
one
a full
time the
crew.
Marines don't want to get into melee combat.
Yeah. And
Yep,
and
so
but
now
the ships are separating. The problem here is that the 8 gun is in a bad position as it separates from that 13 gun.
Yeah.
But they put some bodies on the 13 gun, and hopefully they've taken control of it, which I believe they have. Yeah, the 13 has basically got nobody manning its cannons. This is going to buy time for that 8 gun to swing around and hit it from the rear, which they desperately needed that time, and they've done a great job in getting it. A great job in getting it. So now we have
Back
to
and
see.
forth.
Yeah, this is a really exciting finish here. With 10 minutes to go, I think I know who's going to win, but I actually cannot tell you. Because if that 13 gun goes down, wow.
They just need to get the cannons in rotation from the 8
And
gun wings.
I think they absolutely will.
They are in right
So
now.
they're in. And so this is the Marines saying, yeah, we can come back from this.
Don't ignore
fire
that
at that.
gunboat.
Yeah, ignore the gunboat.
You had the same thought.
It's so low. It's so low. Oh, look at that. Look at this beautiful shooting. This is the Marines absolutely not giving up. And so we have a question. Does a team that never gives up or a team that knows exactly kind of how to marshal its resources, like what's going to win here? Because now the Marines are in a prime position. The question is, at the end of this, they have their other 8 gun, because I think this 13 gun is going to go down any minute. I think it's in a terrible position. Now the Marines 8 guns have to reconnect and fight it out. They cannot get isolated individually. They must get together. The Jackals are weaker than they look. They seem to have 3 ships remaining, but one of those ships is just absolutely not able to conduct battle right now. So this 13 gun going down any second, and I mean any second, is going to be huge, huge. Because the Jackals' remaining 8 guns, they have one that's completely full. That's a danger. But they also have one that's lower than either of the 2 Marines' remaining 8 guns. That could be a big deal here. And again,
now we got Marine number 2 coming back into the fight finally.
And there it is, 13 gun down for the Jackals. Now, truly, it is anybody's game. If the Marines can reconnect, that will be huge for them. They need to focus fire here. And it seems like that's what they're doing. The 8 gun that just sunk the 13 gun is trying to kind of deal with the gunboat that's at its rear.
Yep.
Whereas the next one's just trying to reconnect with it. In this moment, we are going to see who's going to win and who's going to lose. I have to change my mind. I think the Marines are going to pull it out.
Let's go. I agree.
Gunboats are going to make a huge difference here, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. And we got 2 fairly healthy 8 guns on the Marine side. And even though it's a 3-2 fight, that one ship all the way to the south is essentially useless. Its whole objective right now is to stay away.
Yep. But it can't do that because if they sink even a single more ship, then we're in tie territory. And then they've got to
Which
bring that guy in.
correct me if I'm wrong on the timing, but what do we have? 8 minutes left? That's more than enough time to take out one, if not both of these.
Because of the proximity of these ships
Correct.
and how deep this is a battle. This is a real ass battle.
And
And
one's
it is going
crossed
to
already.
go. Yeah. And that, by the way, the one they're firing at, I believe, is the Jackal's weaker ship.
If we see a ship go down in a few seconds here, that'll be exactly true.
Let's see.
They're both
Let us
focusing
see.
firing on that lead 8 gun and trying to watch the ship health.
Yeah, we got to wait. We got to wait and see the ship health go down, and then we're going to know.
I think we're gonna see both these 8 guns go down. They're in a pretty rough spot.
The shame of it is no. Okay, the one they're firing at is the stronger of the two 8 guns.
Okay,
The weaker
okay.
of the two 8 guns is in the rear position. So the problem is the Marines are trying to deal too much with these gunboats, and I know that these gunboats are a real and pressing threat. There's no doubt about it. They're probably putting bodies on those ships. They're probably really messing around with them. But there cannot be a more pressing concern right now than taking down an 8 gun.
Lost some cannons on the Marines' northernmost ship there.
Yeah, wow, this is down to the absolute last second. I think this is going to be down to unbelievable play, unbelievable turnaround from the Marines. Both of these teams at part of this battle have allowed their 13 gun to get into a position where the enemy could strike at it hard, and they unfortunately lost them. You want to keep that 13 gun as long as possible, and usually the team that does ends up winning. But we are seeing a situation in here, and a real situation here, where I think the Marines are going to win it, even though they lost that 13 gun so early. Regrettable, but they turned it around.
Yeah, they pulled the Jackals maneuver. They got backed into a corner by getting a little overzealous, and then they just pushed through it. It took a while for that second 8 gun to catch back up, but now that it's here, and there goes another Jackals cannon. They're losing cannons like crazy on these guns.
And that's something that happens to Jackals. Their hyper aggression tends to get them a huge cannon deficit over the other team. But you have to say, the fact that these Marines, one of these Marine ships, are just being constantly and never-endingly harassed by these guys. It's going to make
They will not leave them alone.
Look at all these cannon explosions. I mean, one after the other on these ships. They are trading cannons back and forth. Wow, 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 wow.
Sorry, I'm getting so excited here. I've horribly positioned our overhead camera.
That's okay. I get it in there,
now.
and let's take a look. Yeah, we gotta let these
Apologize to
people
all of our
see
viewers.
what's happening here, because this is a extraordinary finish.
And
To a
somehow
battle
that
has gone
Jackal
back and
ship,
forth.
it has 0 health. They just need one reliable cannon round.
Yeah, but the Marines can't get it right now. Marines can't get it.
They're out of rotation and they're being harassed mercilessly.
Yes.
And now the second Jackal ship is out of rotation too. This should have been over already.
Oh my God! A total demast
demast.
on one of the Marines' 8 guns. Total demast.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. This is
And
no good. And yet they still have great ship HP. I mean, great, relatively speaking. But yeah, they got to sink that other Jackal's 8 gun. This is, you know what the Jackals needed to do probably a few minutes ago was get that other 8 gun somewhere close to in range. Maybe he could do long range cover fire, because this is getting real scrappy at the end here. And another ship with even a single cannon could do I mean, wow.
Considering how few cannons are left on all ships in this scuffle, I actually don't even know if the Jackals, if they had brought that other 8 gun in, I don't think it would have been under threat. The Marines don't have a cannon to spare to shoot at a new ship at the moment.
No, they don't.
Both of these 8 guns are so low. Just need the one all the way to the east to just turn hard to starboard and light up that ship. It's got no health.
I know. Do they know it, though? Do they know it? Because that's going to be what determines it or not. Do they know which ship is which?
I think they've got one cannon, and all he knows is that he's trying to survive a bunch of gunboats.
They might be trying to pull that ship out. Honest to God, they might be trying to get that ship out of there. This is a Jackal's thing. When the ship gets low, they just pull it out. And I mean, they may say tie, but we'll win on points. And they may win on points. I don't know.
It's it's gonna be close. It's certainly gonna come down to the wire at this point.
That's just one.
I don't I don't know if the Marines have enough firepower to even take down this straggler if they focused. And now the
Wow.
gunboats are focusing on the Marine ship from the
The J-
Jackals.
the Jackals removing their ships from the battle is really saving them. I mean, this fleet
Yeah, what a
management
strat.
may be the difference between victory and defeat for them.
That that's oof, that's some seriously well calculated
By the way, the
leadership.
the Jackal ship that is closest to the battle does not have cannons on the starboard side. It cannot fire back.
Oh, really?
Cannot fire back. Nope. Has no cannons on the side that's facing the enemy. None.
Oh my goodness.
So it is going to just sit there and take shots. But with 2 minutes and 25 seconds left, maybe they're thinking, yeah, these guys will continue to shoot us, but we will win by that ship not sinking from the fire it's going to take and preserving 3 ships to their 2. And if that is how the
Yes.
Jackals win this, that is going to be some expert tactics.
And
That is gonna
honestly,
wow.
even if you look at the health at the moment, even if by some miracle that Jackal's ship goes down and it's 2-2, it's going to be really close on ship health and I assume points.
Yeah, we might not
It's
know who wins. But the thing is, that Jackal ship is not going down. It is taking
no.
damage like it's just absorbing damage. And that's, I mean, and now it's going to flip. Now it's going to try and flip around. This is a dangerous moment because flipping can be a very, like, you're showing a lot of parts of your ship that can be very easily damaged. But they're going to try and get that left side cannon barrage in. And they do have, I think, 2 cannons on their left side. But, you know, oof, my God, this is such a risky strategy. But with a minute 20 seconds left, this may be the reason that the Jackals win. Their meticulous attention to detail when it comes to a ship is getting low, get it out of the fight.
And
Wow.
I almost wonder if they're just pulling that other 8 gun out of the way too. It doesn't really look like they're trying to rotate in for combat.
Maybe not.
Just catch some wind and escape and just let the
Go.
time run out.
That's very dangerous, but you know, yeah, 59 seconds left. They've got to just last for another minute.
I see them. They're getting away. The Marines battle barge is what, the most cannons with maybe 2 left?
Yeah, maybe 2, maybe 3. And it is, listen, it's landing shots. It's landing
It
shots.
sure is.
The question is, are they going to be enough? 37
with-
seconds left.
Not with 30 seconds left. Absolutely not.
I don't know. It's like a single cannon explosion could do it. A single DMAS could do it. There are possibilities, but they are slim. The Jackals are going to win this with fleet management. The Jackals are going to win this with fleet management.
This is
truly incredible.
This is an excellent showing from both of these teams. I was expecting same as their last matchup, just a slam their ships together and brawl. Ooh. Oh, 3 seconds.
Oh my God.
It's not gonna
Oh
make a
my God.
difference.
Oh my God. And they've
Wow.
done it. The Jackals have won. And the way that they won, was an extraordinarily risky maneuver. Extraordinary. It looks like they would have won on the points. Maybe not. Maybe a sink would have switched the points. It was very close. I mean, look how close those scores are. We're talking hundreds of points difference.
700 points difference.
So the takeaways here, I think the major thing that, and I said in the early part, I think the major reason that the Marines ended up losing here was the lack of offsetting their 13 gun and losing that 13 gun when they probably didn't have to, right? I think, again, a 13 gun that got set off of the line, that was pulled back like the Jackals was, would have survived a lot longer, put a lot more damage in, and they probably would not have faced this thing at the end where, you know, they're like barely losing. I mean, because that's what this was. This was a loss by a margin I have never really seen in the league before.
By far the closest, I believe.
That 13 gun staying in the battle for longer, would have put more damage in those 8 guns and would have cinched that for the Marines. That said, I mean, I can go on about the fact that the Marines 13 gun was too close to the enemy, but we also have to talk about how the Jackals 13 gun was like nowhere for the first half of that battle, right? It went off on its own thing and swung around. And if the Marines had not kept going forward when they were battling those 4.8 guns, if they just sat there and hit the 4.8 guns from the same position instead of going like forward and curving around them, that Jackal's 13 gun would have never been able to deal the damage to the Marines 13 gun that it did, that ended up with
Great.
it sinking as fast as it did. So
Absolutely.
even my criticism about the Marines 13 gun may have been offset in the long run if, again, they had just kind of kept it away from the Jackals 13. Um, the Jackals 13 gun did a lot of work, but it allowed itself to get split off from the other fleets with no real support, and it ended up getting sunk by 8 guns, which was a huge then turnaround for the Marines. Now the Marines are end up in pole position where they have probably better ship HPs and more cohesion in their fleet. They're hitting them. Then the Jackals, with this amazing fleet management, Prof, pull
Just
out the ships that are injured and save it so that it's a 3-2 match at the end. I mean, unbelievable.
and with the thinnest threads of health, we're talking both ships that peeled off are maybe one, two good hits away from sinking. Perfectly timed execution of withdrawals.
I mean, such, such a beautiful match, and it went the distance. It went the actual distance, um, which means that we had prepped all this stuff that we were going to talk about between the lower bracket semifinal and the upper bracket semifinal, and we're not going to be talking about any of that because in a few minutes we're going to have to start talking about the next battle that we're going to see. But of course, we are hoping that we can get the admirals for both of those teams in here, and we will have a expedited discussion with them
Absolutely.
about what we have seen here today. A battle that went back and forth in who we thought were going to win at any given time and ended with the most, I mean, the most thin margin of victory that you could possibly imagine, just because these jackals are pros at pulling out damaged ships. That's what we saw here. All right, so it looks like we have our admirals here. I see Charney, I see Kieran's, I see some other people who have joined, and so I would like to talk to you guys. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to do this pretty quick because we have another battle coming up. So we're gonna keep it to just one question or two questions maximum per
Oof.
admiral. And so let's get right into it. We've got Charney here. Charney, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Congratulations! What a battle!
Excellent
Um,
match.
yeah, great match. What is it that you think won you this battle today?
My one gun and rocket boats is my Wunderwaffe.
Yeah, the gunboats and rocket boats from the very beginning, and it's something that we didn't talk about in our kind of summation here, but they were putting in work 100% of the battle. Uh,
Right out the gate.
Yes.
both teams, by the way, both teams' gunboats were putting out work right from the start. Whether it was the Marines' gunboats that were hitting the 13 gun and keeping it distracted, or the Jackals' 13 guns that were just behind the Marines' line at all times, in all places. It's beautiful, beautiful work. What happened with the 13 gun? How did it get so separated from your fleet in the beginning of the battle?
We have problem because one captain don't going joined us team, and reserve captain get out of Discord.
Oh,
So we lose one 8 gun for maybe 2 minutes or more. And in beginning, my reserve captain go to wrong side of Island, uh, and it separates. But
Gotcha,
not
gotcha,
bad. 13 gun is very big ship and very good HP, so can fight versus one or two 8 gun.
gotcha. Okay, so we have to move very quickly, unfortunately, because again we have another battle coming up any minute now. But you are going to go on to fight the Royal Black Fleet in the finals. Uh, is there anything that you're taking from today's battle that you're going to bring into the finals match?
Hmm. I'm happy because I'm not admiral next match. So this is not my problem. Falashan
Very
is
good.
love
admiral
that.
next match.
Well,
Probably
I
Falashan and Piet.
Very good. Well, if this is your last battle, I want to tell you personally that watching your season this season has been great. You have been a pioneer of a lot of tactics that I and others have used. You're a great admiral, and your performance today was, I mean, really, really wonderful. A
Stellar.
joy to watch for everybody. Um, and uh, it's been a great season, and we've loved having you, and we hope to see more of you in the future, Charney. So thank you so much for everything.
And
I
congratulations.
love improvisation and chaos, so
Good. Well, yeah, you show it.
I'm doing the best. This.
All right, we're going to move on to the Marines. Admiral Kieran's. What a back and forth battle this was. The 13 gun went down, and usually that's a death sentence for a team, and yet your 8 guns clawed back into parity with them. And it seemed like really the only thing that kept you guys from winning was the timer and the fact that their ships were not near you at the end for you to sink. Um, Tell us a little bit about first of all the opening maneuver. Um, my thoughts on it were that it was a real stroke of genius, especially with the 13 gun being so far away. You got to really hammer into those 8 guns. Unfortunately, the 13 gun, your 13 gun was kind of right in the mix, and it got hit a lot during that, and it got sunk a lot during that. Tell me what you were thinking with that maneuver. Talk about the 13 gun and how it performed, and overall your feelings on this battle.
Well, I just want to thank Victory, my Vice Admiral. He's the one that came up with all the plans, and if there was something different that was going to happen, then Victory was there to provide a contingency as well. Initially, we wanted to have a pincer maneuver for the fleet, and they sort of came and played into our hand by coming north,
Yes.
because all of our plans were banking on them coming north. We wanted to keep the 13 gun in with the rest of the formation of the fleet, because we at the same time it is an important player in the game, but we know that it's good for absorbing those shots, taking the attention away from the other 8 guns. Their 13 gun that managed to slip away from us, it wasn't too big of a deal because we had our gunboats ready to engage. We did have a big blunder though. We only brought 2 gunboats. We only brought 2 boats out for the whole match, and that's because we had 2 new gunboat captains who thought we could only take 2 boats out at all for the whole game.
Oh
So
my
we used
God.
our 2
Oh,
boats, and we didn't use a single boat after that. So yeah, that was something I realized at the end of the game when we had a bunch of boats just like waiting.
that was
Wow.
going to be one of my
Yeah,
questions because there
Yeah.
was decidedly good opening
Yeah.
gunboat maneuvers and then
And then the
a lack
jackals took it
of
over.
towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
seeing like mid-match, it was like, yo, where are boats? Where are they?
Oh my God. Oh, that's tragic. That could, I mean, the margin of this loss was so slim. I don't know if you
yeah,
got to see the ship HP of the enemy, but
I
every
did.
one of the jackals ships were on their absolute last leg. And
Yeah,
so gunboats would have I'll be honest with you, gunboats would have won you that battle.
yeah.
Um
Someone's getting sacked.
but nonetheless, I just really want to thank you for a great season from you guys. I know, like you said, like this is a learning period for you guys. I know you guys are going to come back swinging next season,
Oh
and we're
yeah,
counting on it. And so you guys have always been a team that fights to the bitter end, and I think that's something that you guys can leave this season really proud of. That like no matter what the circumstances are, you're not running, you're not like conserving your ships, you're not like you want to fight, and you guys get in there and you give it to the enemy team right up until the last ship goes down. That is not something that every team can say, and so I want to really congratulate you guys for it, for a great fighting spirit that
yeah,
you guys have had throughout this season.
yeah. Thank you for having
Any
us.
Of course, it's been our pleasure. Is there any
Yeah.
words that you want to say to the NSL community about how this season went for you and what you're going to be looking forward to for next season?
Well, I think next season is really going to be our best season. We're hoping to be at least top 3. We've got a lot of very
Very good.
well-trained console captains and console gunners. There's
Oh,
no
they'll be
longer that
there.
skill gap between console players and PC players, in my opinion.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be our best season, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Great.
And also in addition, may I also add is that we are having a lot more of a logistical work on that as well. So we're gonna not just be there in brawn, but we're also gonna be there in brains, if you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Excellent. Excellent.
Love
Well,
to see it.
guys, yeah. Thank you so much for all your hard work this season and showing up and being here with us. This ends your season of the NSL, but it will go on. We will see you next year.
Yeah.
And so, with that, we are going to, well, first, I guess, Prof, we probably do have a minute or two. So, if there's any questions you want to ask either of these admirals, let me open it up to you.
I think we covered most of the major questions. For the Marines though, as a diehard fanboy of your team here, I do have the one question because when you first moved into position to cross in the T of the Jackals fleet right before you kind of turned in, I was wondering if the motivation behind your continuing to move the loop instead of just parking the ships and battering the Jackals is because you just not used to being in that position without having rammed a ship.
It was uncharted territory for us. We were thinking, right, are we going to just brawl it out now, or are we going to continue sailing? And I think me and Victory both decided we'd go around the island and we try and cross the T again on them. If I thought they were pretty unorganized at the start, but then the way they reformed and got all the 8 guns back together was great.
Yeah, that's
I,
Yeah.
the Jackals thing.
I don't know if I don't. Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. We're hearing from our control room that the next battle is ready to get started pretty
Oh
soon.
boy.
So I hate to interrupt. Of course, we love hearing from you, and normally we would have you guys for a lot more. But we're going to have to excuse the Admirals. Thank you for a wonderful semifinals match. Jackals will see you next week for your finals match against the Royal Black Fleet. But it is time to move on, folks, to the next battle. This is a battle that a lot of people have been looking forward to for a long time. So we're going to get into the pregame coverage for the upper brackets semifinals league. All right. So let's talk about what we're going to see here. I think we can probably skip right past the leaderboard and get on to the teams themselves. We've seen the leaderboard here. We know where these guys stand. This is the second and third place team in the league. And it is going to be a rematch that we have all been looking forward to seeing. Before we get started, Prof, what do you think about the Admirals and their styles as you've watched the league? What do you think has changed between this week and the last battle, which was the last battle of the season, and what we're going to see today?
Oh, we're talking about the upper bracket now,
Or
correct?
we're talking about upper bracket today.
All right,
Yeah.
we're talking about scary teams.
Krakens
I
versus the SCP. What do you think?
Yeah, this is more of a tough one for me because, and I don't mean this to come out as a negative way in any fashion against the lower brackets, but the strategy of play I feel like you see out of the Krakens, the SCP, and the Leviathans is just so far above whatever I would consider when I self-insert myself into these positions. And it's I feel like I represent a lot of the watchers here as not an admiral in I can't say I fully understand the developments they've made. I know they're making new maneuvers towards the end of the season they didn't in the beginning, but it's more of a baffling situation to me.
Yeah. You know what we call it, like the term we use is like that professionalism, right? And when we
Yes.
talk about professionalism, like what is that something? What are we talking about? And what we're talking about is coordination of the fleet, the discipline of the cannoneers, and the ability to react to circumstances changing, and also as at an admiral level, looking towards the future instead of making decisions about the present situation you're in. Right? You're like we were talking about last game,
Mhm.
what we saw in the semifinals. Right now, I am not in the head of either of these admirals. I don't know what they're thinking. Right? Like I thought that the Marines were being a little bit foolish with their 13 gun when they left it in the line. But what did he really think? He was thinking this is a damage soak, and so
True.
you can never know what a person's thinking out there. What I think is foolish is somebody else's strategy, and that strategy worked. I mean, literally, like now that we know that they didn't have their gunboats, that strategy basically worked for them. And if they had gunboats, I think the Marines would have won.
Fair.
But
Yeah.
so what we talk about is what is the next thing? What happens next? And so when they're in that line, right, they're fighting those 8 guns. for the Jackal's 8 guns, continuing that curve, like you said, when you were asking, oh, did you just not, have you just never done that without hitting a ship before, right? Thinking about where that puts you into the enemy 13 gun range is something that a professional admiral and fleet manager is thinking about. And that's why you necessarily maybe you would choose not to move forward in there, or maybe you would, again, depending on your circumstances. What we see from the Krakens in the SCP are admirals at the top of their game who do not make they don't let battles get crazy. The battles they're formulaic, and that doesn't need to be boring. But these are like, how like two chess masters, you can see a chess piece moving and you go, oh, you're doing that opening, right?
Yes.
In a much less, we're not chess masters here, but you can see an admiral's intention from a very early stage based on their openings and their fleet composition and stuff like that. All right, so let's talk about this. The side by side. Let me just go through the side by side for the
Please.
this because I want to make sure I'm shouting out all these great names. We got the Krakens. We have Percy leading the fleet. They're a 7-3 team. They've got a 1-1 matchup against the SCP-38s. They lost their most recent one against the SCP-38s in a pretty decisive fashion. But they did it, I think, because of a command error, is what I'm going to say. I think we all saw that moment when their fleet kind of split into two directions. They didn't have that cohesion. That is the mark of a professional fleet.
Yes.
Which they normally have, by the way. This is not like a normal thing for the Krakens. This was a real goof that just came out of nowhere, I think, for them. Their top players, McCandless, Verda, Grice, amazing players. All the Cannoneers on this team are amazing. Frisky, one to watch. Again, great. We have Muffetop Scout, SCP-38. Muffetop Scout, only admiral to ever beat the Leviathans. Then he went on in the next matchup against a different top 3 team, and then he beat the Krakens. This is a guy who can beat anybody. 7-3 season record, tied with the Krakens. Only by points are they the third place team. All-time matchup 1-1, won their most recent one against the Krakens. They got Spicy, probably the best Cannoneer. Dan Frank, Bobby 1-2-3. We got Triangle to watch. We're looking at two teams that are so unbelievably strong that it especially if the Krakens have fixed whatever communication issue that they had amongst their leaders that caused their defeat against the SCP last time, we are looking at a battle that is going to be neck and neck. Because when it comes to firepower, when it comes to cannon crews, these teams are both highly represented in the top of the leaderboard. So let's head over to the tournament bracket, just see what these guys are playing for. And that is, of course, the opportunity to beat the Leviathans and win the grand prize, the #1 slot. Because no matter who is in what slot right now, the finals are where the winner of this league gets decided. By winning into the top 2nd and 3rd in the semis, these guys have put themselves in striking position of that. That's what they earned over this season of fighting, the ability to challenge the Leviathans for the #1 slot here. And again, absolutely we've seen across this season that either the Krakens, who have had real close dust-ups with the Leviathans in some of the battles, or the SCP-38, who have already beaten the Leviathans. Either of these guys can take the cake. Now, Prof, let's take a look at the map preview. Okay?
Oh, let's take it. We're back, baby.
Northerly wind direction. Same old map. Different wind. Okay? So we're probably, if we see a similar opening from these guys as we saw from the other guys, we're looking at a battle happening in the south if they're trying to gain the wind. What we saw here from that last battle is that luring your opponent against the wind and then cutting through a channel is a strategy that works. It works really well. The difference is, Prof, is that the Jackals let that 13-gun drift. I don't see that happening for either of these two teams, which means that even, let's say, let's just hypothetical, both of these teams head south. They act like they're going to go around the southernmost tip of the island chain. Let's say the SCP, they're crafty. They decide to switch it up and try and head through the other southmost gap, not at the end of the island, but that second large gap that's inward. The Krakens are going to be able to turn their whole fleet around to pummel them as they come through that. You know? So
Yep.
I don't see it as likely. I don't know that the Admirals are going to just go against the wind to start off with. I think they're both prepping something much, much, much more crafty than what we can expect to be just sort of two teams going in the same direction. Just like the Marines showed us some craftiness here, I
Yep.
think one of these teams is going to surprise us with some craftiness.
Maybe we'll
What do you
see
think?
I think we might see maybe we'll see a full inversion here. Whereas in our last match we were expecting full-blown aggression and we got a lot more strategy and traditional maneuvers. Maybe we're going to see one of these teams break out some unexpected aggression because it's while it will be dangerous to be the first one to cross through the barrier islands, if you do it on your own terms, that could put them in a unique position. I almost wonder if both of these teams are going to go straight towards the middle and make a last minute pivot.
Be interesting and not a bad idea at all, because there are options, and the question being, who's going to go through first, and if they do, what's the reaction going to be? So this is, I mean, a moment in which anything could truly happen here. Anything. Um, phew. Let's what we're going to try and really look out for here. What we're going to really try to look out for here, I think, is the Krakens. The Krakens are coming off of listen, the Krakens are my friends. That was a devastating defeat to the SCP-38 that they had in their last battle. And it's not, again, that's not because their normal performance is some bad performance and the SCP are just a wildly better team. We're talking about a moment in which they really had a tough chain of command moment. When the SCP beat the Leviathans, and then the SCP lost to the Leviathans, we were wondering, does this loss to the Leviathans, is this going to chase in the SCP? The answer was no. They came out swinging for the Krakens. Now the question is this recent Kraken's loss going to have prompted some really hard thinking about the way that they do business? Or is it going to have chastened them, or is it going to have revved them up, knowing, no, we can beat the SCP-38. We've done it before, and we're going to prove that we can do it today, right? All the motivations are going to coalesce into their strategies today, and we're going to see how they've processed that most recent defeat. I know what the SCP are thinking, because they seem to think the same thing every time, which is, this battle is a brand new, fresh start for us. We're not taking anything for granted. We're not bringing any baggage into it. We're going to take it for what it is. That's what Muffin Top says every battle. I take it for what it is. This battle is different than the last one. I'm not carrying anything. Are the Krakens? I know that the Krakens, I think, like myself, as the leader of the Leviathans, they do feel that history. They do feel what came before influences what comes now. And I wonder if they're going to be carrying that on an emotional or tactical level. I don't know.
I feel like it's hard not for them to bring that into something like the semifinal. I'm sure they're trying their best not to think about it, but these are real people crewing these ships, and they were there. They remember these previous fights. Even if their admiralty and their captains are doing their best to think about the moment, I'm sure the crew are itching to make a difference, so to speak, today.
Yeah, absolutely. To revenge themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is one of those things where it can impact them in a negative way. It can instill a sense in them. Oh man, we lost. We might lose again. Or it can do what it's done for the SCP before, for the Leviathans, which is say, no, I refuse. I refuse to lose again. You know. And so
Absolutely.
both of these teams, I mean, I can't speak enough. I can't compliment highly the teams in this league. In the lower bracket, we see teams in this league who have so much spirit and energy and their ability to coalesce after breaking apart, come back together, reform, keep the battle going. Every one of those battles goes straight to the end, and they're like, your heart is beating like mad. Every one of those battles, they're so talented at that like chaos fighting in the lower
Absolutely.
bracket. And the upper bracket, it's a totally mirror image of that. These guys are so formed up, so formulaic and so strong in their fundamentals, and yet they bring a lot of aggression to each other. And they have battles. Sometimes those battles go very quickly. Sometimes they go the distance. But it shows such a level of skill and precision on these upper level teams. It really, it is like watching. Sometimes it's like watching two different leagues when you watch these guys fight, and it doesn't make it better or worse. It's just so fascinating how different strategies play out here in the league. And I love to watch it. It's such a wonderfully great, uh, league that has produced itself through all of these individual people. And you're so right to say, this is not bots fighting bots. This is not NPCs fighting NPCs. Every function of these battles, every single minute of these battles, these are real people sweating it out, trying to win for their team. Every cannon shot is like a little tiny percentage of a team's effort. Every one of them. And these are real people on the line. These are real emotions. These are real reactions. When a ship crosses behind your ship, you feel real fear. And your crew really panics or doesn't, depending on the level of professionalism that you have in that team. And that creates these dynamic reactions and these dynamic results that we see here in the NSL. And it's a beautiful thing. For a competitor, hopefully for the audience, it's as fun to watch as it is to play. And of course, if you're interested in playing in the NSL, dear viewer, and you're not already on a team, there is nothing stopping you right now from going and getting the game of Holdfast Nations at War, finding one of these regiments who are participating in the NSL and joining them as well. If you are a console player only, next season we will be having you. It's going to be great. This season was for PC players only because we just haven't gotten to the part yet where we are able to create the Coliseum in a way that the console players can access it. It's a modded map that we created, but next season is going to be different. AGS, the creators of Holdfast, have done a great job at seeing the NSL, enjoying the NSL, and helping the NSL to appeal to even more players next season. And so we'll be very excited to have anybody out there who watches this and thinks, man, I'd love to be involved. Come on down. We'd love to have you. Join a team.
Talking to you, Brave Rubber Duck, in chat.
Yeah, come on, Brave Rubber Duck in chat. Whoever it is, anyone out there. Yeah. So at this point, we will see how this plays out. Let's do some predictions here. Who do you want to take?
I'm instinctively leaning towards SCP.
Yeah.
For this one.
Okay.
It's hard to pinpoint exactly why I feel, because statistically speaking, both of these teams are neck and neck. I mean, if you I actually went and I broke down the numbers. The point differential spread between these two teams coming into the end of the season is just 17,000 points, with the Krakens having just a slight upper hand.
Yeah.
This is the most ridiculously close point spread. That's one game's difference that could have swung where their standings fell before they went to the semifinals.
Guys, we are in battle. Are we watching a battle right now?
You should be seeing the overhead, yeah. Are you having some issues on your side?
Obviously, I'm having some issues on my side. So I am going to get out of this, and we'll talk about it. So these guys we have a Krakens. Well, you know what? Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. So as it stands right now, on the left side of the screen, we got the Kraken's fleet in a standard line formation, 13 offset. They're kind of pointed northeast, but they've come to a dead stop right behind that first floating island, and they have their gunboats peeking through the very middle of the map. They're just sitting in that channel, just out of range of a lot of gunfire that they're taking. But on the flip side, SCP has all their 8 guns pointed directly at the center. Also, almost a complete standstill, just one flag, one mast up at the moment, barely moving. And they've offset their 13 gun to point northwest, again, almost mirroring the Kraken's fleet, and more or less not moving. I guess this is just a feeling out situation. Which, when you were speaking about it before, the difference between the competition level in the lower brackets versus the upper brackets, this is the kind of the tension I feel like I get when I watch teams of this caliber compete, where it's much slower in the early game, but that's because the consequences of a misstep are so much higher. Because either one of these teams is going to pounce on the first opportunity of an incorrect turn or an out of position 8-gun. Hell, even right now, they're it seems like they're very cautious to even maneuver their gunboats.
It doesn't
for
shock
fear.
me. It doesn't shock me because it's one of those things where, this is the most important battle of the season. They don't want to make a mistake. And can you blame them?
No. When you're competing for the top of the leaderboards like this for a chance at the throne, this is you can't be making risks. As much as I love to see ships crashing into each other and carpenters ripping apart fleets, it's top tier ship positioning and cannoneering, like you said earlier, which really sets these teams apart.
It is, and I mean that's.
That is, so actually, we're hearing it from the inside. You can see it on screen. The SCP-13 is off on its lonesome right now in the top right of the screen. More or less looks like they're trying to bait out the Kraken's fleet, but they are not biting. Krakens are firmly positioned in their line, and they're just waiting.
Well, I mean, at this point, waiting there is not a bad idea. First of all, it really just showed the mettle of this team, what they are capable of discipline-wise. They're not going to fall for it. But if that means that, the SCP are going to get a flanking maneuver on them, possibly, dude, sometimes staying in place can be very dangerous. What it does, more than anything, staying in place gives your enemy the opportunity to analyze your position and its weaknesses. Whereas being on the move does not allow the enemy to really understand what's going on, right? They have to think about what's happening in the future. They have to, plan for your trajectory and their trajectory and how it's going to interact. But if you only have to worry about your trajectory and the enemy is just going to sit, you can predict the angles of attack that are going to be best. And so the SCP has this opportunity. But that does not change the fact that this is a very strong position for the Krakens. And the fact that they are going to have, the ability to move if they need to. They've got the ability. They've got, they got the wind if they want it.
I think that's another important point to note here, because we're looking at the same map as the previous round. But you got to remember now that the wind is pointing away from the overhead camera. If you're looking right now, it's pointing to the north. So any maneuvers to drop down towards the south are going to be against the wind. Neither team is really banking any wind in these current positions. Also, probably important point to note, I didn't even notice it, the Krakens have lost a gunboat. I guess in that initial scouting mission through the center channel, they did actually take some fire and lose a round.
2 8-guns. I think they're just slowly moving their fleet out.
Yes, sir.
I think they're going to try and catch the SCP as they come through this channel, but I'm a little worried that they may have, I don't think that they're going to have the speed to do that. The SCP are not
going through.
No, I think maybe they realize the threat's a little bit too much here. Let's reconnect with our 13 gun. Let's see what we can do there. This has created a little bit of discord in the Kraken's line, but it's nothing they can't recover from. One of the funny things is that 13 gun is just throwing shots. The SCP-13 gun is throwing shots over the island, trying to tag the lead 8-gun of the Kraken's line, and it's actually getting really close. If not actually hitting.
I think they might be in range. Maybe.
No, they're definitely in range.
Yeah,
they're actually. I believe
those shots are right off. I'm on the overhead, so I can barely see, but I'm seeing impacts just off the bow of that 8-gun.
I'm looking, and it is hitting, or it's getting very, very, very close. Now it seems that this battle is progressing. Okay, so we see now that these fleets have decided that, this little trick of ours is not really working. We're going to probably just get to the wall at the end here, and we're going to fire. At this moment, I would say the SCP are going to bring their 8-guns up, and they're going to have a little bit of extra cohesion here.
Certainly have a line already.
Right, and it's kind of like a built-in line ready to just jet up and cover the 13-gun when necessary. 13 guns range is going to be a huge factor here. And it looks as though these 13 guns are in extremely close range. I mean, not extremely close range to anything like the 8 guns, but in like close to each other's maximum ranges. And so we are seeing those shots just barely missing. Like I'm seeing Kraken shots barely just falling off the port side of the SCP's flagship. And maybe even getting hit. Now, here's the thing. The SCP's flagship is probably going to be able to really tag these 2 rearmost 8 guns.
And I think they just realized at the same time you said it, because I'm just watching the fire immediately shift.
Yeah. So it's gonna. What he's doing on that 13 gun is he's slowly reversing, and he's slowly reversing to maximize the amount of time that he can hit the front 8 gun of the front 8 gun. Well, I would say if this was all one Kraken's line, it would be the 4th ship on the line.
The closest one in proximity.
Right, the one that's closest to him, that's trading fire with him. Now the thing is, he is trading fire with that ship, and that ship is hitting him back, but he's going to win that battle. Those 8-gun cannons don't, a 1v1, they don't do a lot to a 13, unless you destroy cannons. You can also see now that the Krakens are reversing that 8-gun. They don't want this fight at this range. They want to have it in a situation where their 13-gun is in range. This is a very cautious battle, very controlled at the range level. These teams do not want to put any one of their assets in a very bad position. But if anything, you can see that the SCP is holding these 2 8-guns back, and at least one of these 8-guns, I think, is being held back to go through that channel. You see that rearmost 8-gun?
I was going to call them out. They're either, because I think I'm seeing a slow rotation there, so they're either going to go through the channel, or they're waiting to pounce on the Kraken's gunboats, which have lagged behind to the south.
If you take a look at this rearmost 8-gun, both of these 2 rearmost 8-guns are going to cut behind the Krakens. They've been waiting for the 2 of the Kraken's rearmost 8-guns to pull forward, and they're going to send it for a flanking maneuver. This is a high-risk, high-reward kind of scenario, though, because the Krakens can turn their fleet. The problem is the lead of the Kraken's fleet is getting a little bit too caught up in that little corner that they're getting to there. That is very, very, very dangerous, because it's hard to get out of that, especially with a 13-gun. Ooh, this is close. I think the Krakens but the Krakens see it. That's, I believe, why the angle of that front ship is so interesting. Like, it wouldn't make sense if they were trying to fight the enemy 13-gun, but it would make a lot of sense if they were trying to kind of ward off a shot for the back of their fleet. What we can see here now, though, is that the SCP have done a tremendous amount of damage to a Kraken ship. That 8-gun is getting hammered.
It's still getting hammered as it tries to fall back into formation.
100%. It's going to be hammered for the next probably 30 seconds. This is going to be an interesting point in the battle. Let's keep our eyes on this split fleet.
The gunboat took out a cannon.
The Krakens were waiting for this with their gunboats. They were waiting for it.
Yes, they were.
And now they're going to cause as much chaos as humanly possible on these ships, taking out as many cannons as they can, do as much damage as possible. It's not going to be a lot of damage. By any circumstance, it's not going to be a lot of damage. But it's going to be something. Now the Krakens have to figure out, what do we do? Because we have our 13-gun really too close to the wall here. You want to pull it back. It's got to retreat a little bit. The thing is, because of the damage that the SCP have done to that 8-gun, one of the 2 8-guns that's peeling off to ward away the envelopment, because it's so low, these 2 SCP 8-guns are going to win that duel if they decide to have it.
Even with the gunboat support, absolutely.
Even with the gunboat support, because they're going to sink that rearmost 8-gun of the split off group here. Now the SCP have to charge. Like, they have to take their main fleet and they got to get in. Because otherwise these 2 8-guns are going to get pummeled. Maybe the SCP can pull those 8-guns away. It's certainly possible. But as it stands right now, all the action is between these 8-guns and the gunboats that are supporting them.
Well, one gunboat, because if you see the SCP's gunboats have joined the fray, and they already took out the first Kraken gunboat that slipped through the channel, and now they're harassing the second one. So it's going about to be 2 8 guns, 2 gunboats versus a 1 and dead gunboat for the Krakens, because that ship is going down very soon.
Yep.
SCP's third 8 gun has split off and is heading for the channel now too. It looks like they're rushing to join the fray. But the
Okay, so now-
13 is staying behind.
That's the question. What's the 13 gun going to do? It may just sit there and say, you know what? If your 13 gun does anything, we're going to check it with our 13 gun. But let's talk about what's already happened. The SCP have sunk their first ship. They've sunk their first Kraken ship. Of the 2 breakaway ships, the rearmost one has been sunk. Now it is 2 8 guns and 2 gunboats against a single Kraken's 8 gun. The Krakens are, by a death of 1,000 cuts, losing this battle at the moment. Because now this remaining 8 gun from the breakaway is going to get focus fired by, let's put it, 8, 9, 10 cannons to its 4. That's not good. It's got to get out of there. Right now, it's got to be getting out of there. And it seems like maybe that's what it wants to do, or maybe it's going to hold. Very slowly, very slowly, the Kraken's 13 gun is trying to maneuver itself out of the corner it's put itself in. But it's going to be a long time. I'm just so curious about what the SCP is thinking with its 13 gun.
Just looking from the angle I'm seeing it from the top down, the SCP's 13 gun is still in range of the Kraken's 13. And the way the Kraken's 13 is... Yeah, they're keeping themselves in rotation. And because the Krakens have decided to turn hard to starboard, their only escape is just further into line for that 13 from the SCP.
That's what it is. They're just trying to get that little bit of damage in there. Neither, by the way, 13 gun is really that injured. But
no, not at all.
It is most certainly, the positional benefit is to the SCP right now. The Krakens are just trying to find a way to get out of that corner without taking out withering broadside from the SCP's 13 gun. The 13 guns are basically like locked together.
Absolutely. And also, once they finally complete their turn, they're sailing into the wind, which is slow for a normal ship. For a 13 is disastrously slow. They're going to have a long time before they're out of that corner.
Now we've got 2 8 guns coming to support the lone 8 gun that has been valiantly standing up to its concentrated assault of the SCP's 8 guns. So the breakaway group has kind of started to become the main group.
Absolutely.
As 8 guns just rush in to fill the gaps there. At this point, obviously, you've got to say that the SCP are on top because they have not lost an 8 gun, and they really haven't lost much HP on any of their 8 guns. So they're in a really good position. But this battle is far from over. And the 13 guns, this slow dance that they're doing with each other is going to be very important to how this battle plays out. So we can't stop keeping our eye on it. It looks like the SCP have finally started to move their 13 gun in some kind of way. Let's see how it goes for them.
They're completely out of rotation on the Kraken's 13 that's tucked in that corner. So maybe they've decided this is the chance for them to reposition.
Kind of amazing to see that the Krakens have basically hid their 13 gun, and that's the strategy that they've gone with to make sure that it doesn't get sunk by overwhelming firepower. They've just got to keep that turn going, slow as it may be, and get it the hell out of there. In the meantime, their 8 guns are a little bit on the messy side, but the SCP are also kind of a little bit on the messy side there. They're trying to deal with gunboats right now. They're trying to just kind of get in order so that they can present a concentrated, concentrated force. And I think I'd say that the Krakens are forming up quite nicely at this point. They're going to get together. They're going to get that most injured ship out.